Okay, are you ready?
Yep.
All right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this special meeting of Troy City Council for Monday, June 22nd at 5 p.m. Mrs. Knight, will you please call the roll?
Mrs. Sneed.
Here.
Mr. Terwilliger.
He's muted.
You're muted, John.
Here.
Mr. Rozell.
Here.
Mr. Swazer.
Here.
Mr. Phillips.
Here.
Mr. Twist.
Here.
Mr. Schilling.
Here.
Mr. Allen.
Here.
Mr. Sievert.
Present.
All members are present.
Thank you, Mrs. Knight. Mrs. Knight, will you please read the acknowledgement and notice of the special meeting of this Troy City Council meeting for today?
Notice of special meeting of the City Council addressed to members of council. You are hereby notified that there will be a special meeting of the City Council of the City of Troy, Ohio at the council chambers in said city on Monday, the 22nd day of June, 2020 at 5 p.m. for the purpose of considering the appointments of the mayor to the Human Relations Commission to be approved by motion second and roll call vote. Meeting is called by Council President Lutz pursuant to the council rules for procedure. And normally I would have you all sign this, but Mr. Kerber said since there's only Mr. Sievert here to sign it, if you would all acknowledge that you did receive this special notice.
Can we just go around and ask them individually?
Sure, I can do that by roll call.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to check that you received this. Mr. Terwilliger,
Yes.
Mr. Rozell,
Yes.
Mr. Swazer,
Yes, I received it.
Mr. Phillips,
Yes, ma'am, I have.
Mr. Twist,
Yes.
Mr. Schilling,
Yes.
Mr. Allen,
Yes.
Mr. Sievert,
Yes.
Mrs. Sneed.
Yes.
All have affirmed.
Thank you, Mrs. Knight. This time we will go to the committee reports with the Personnel Committee. Mr. Twist, I have the understanding that you have received the same memo as I have, so please feel free to do your report.
Okay, thank you, President. We are here today to approve the recommended appointments to the Human Relations Commission. That was re-engaged by Mayor Oda, and they will have various terms so that they all don't expire at the same time. And those 12, I will read off with their term length at this point. It would be Kane Feltner for 1 term, Stephanie Johnson for 1 term, John Keller for 1 term, Carolyn Nicely for 1 term, Jordan Atkins, 2 terms.
Mr. Twist.
Mr. Twist.
Yes,
Which one are you reading?
I don't know, one you sent me.
That's his term, which would be 1 year.
Right, but
Term.
Yeah, but years.
you
changed some of these terms.
No, it should be alphabetical, Mr. Twist. What does your
Wow.
memo look like? Did we lose him?
No,
Hold
you
on.
should.
I'm just going to see if you sent me an updated one.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't send him one in the first one? Oh, you're looking at the draft
looking
one
at
that
the
we
draft
sent
one,
like
yeah.
last week.
Right.
Yeah. So did you
No.
send me a new one? No.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, the first name should be Jordan Atkins,
And it's 1
and the
year.
term is 1 year.
Oh, hold on. When did you send it?
Today.
Yes.
Yeah, we sent it today.
What time?
30-ish.
Is that the one with all the hold on. All the
No.
terms with it?
Tell him I just sent it to him again.
Just send it to me.
Robin just sent it to you again, Bill.
Hold on, I got it. I got it.
All right.
Hold on. Okay, we're restarting.
Here we go.
Here we go. I'm gonna have to read it off my iPad so you won't see my face, but we're here today as the Personnel Committee to approve the recommended 12 appointments to the Human Relations Commission that Mayor Oda has re-engaged, and they will be serving a variety of years of terms so that they all don't expire at the same time. So I'll read through those names on the correct list. Jordan Atkins, 1-year term. Sherry Brown, 1-year term. Kane Feltner, 1-year term. David Fong, 1-year term. Sonia Holycross, 2-year term. Trey Hudson, 2-year term. Stephanie Johnson, 2-year term. John Keller, 2-year term. Carolyn Nicely, a 3-year term. Marvin Major Sr., a 3-year term. Loretta Phillips, a 3-year term. And Todd Sievert, a 3-year term.
Thank you, Mr. Twist. Would you make a motion to approve the appointments?
Yes, I do make a motion to approve these 12 appointments for various terms.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Before we take the vote, I would like to give the mayor an opportunity to speak on this if she so desires.
We received 129 applications in a 1-week period, and many qualified people, just really had to pick out a diverse group, and I think we're very happy with the group we've pulled together, and we will keep the rest of those applications on file to pull from for other things, and looking for good discussion, some education that will go in both directions for those of us watching and listening, but we're just looking for some good discussions, some good ideas about how we can improve things here in Troy.
Thank you, Mayor. Do any council members have any comments, questions for discussion? Mr. Phillips, I see, and then we'll go to Mr. Roselle and then Mrs. Snee. Mr. Phillips.
Thank you, Mr. President. Madam Mayor, did you do any in-person interviews with these folks or any of the folks, or did you just rely on the responses that you got in writing or email or some other form? I'm sorry, ma'am.
We did do in person with everybody except 2. We did a phone interview with Cherie Brown and a Zoom interview with Marvin Majors. Oh, also a phone interview with David Fong.
Okay. Thank you.
With all of them or just the 12?
Mr. Roselle, your
12.
question?
With this, Ms. Mayor, with your answer to Bobby, was that for this, just the 12 you selected or all of them?
Just the 12.
Okay. Just in general, I mean, and I apologize if I've missed it, you've already published it or announced it. Was there any what kind of criteria, general guidelines, other than them filling out the application? I didn't look at the application, see what was on. I mean, was there any specific attributes that you help distinguish these 12 over the other 117?
We read through all of the comments that everybody made, and honestly, there were a lot of people that could have been on here, and we just had to start picking and choosing. We didn't want all people that there are several people on here that I do not know. So we didn't want just a list of people that are well known in the community. We wanted people that live here, raise their kids here, go to school here. But pretty much we went on what they wrote on their form.
Okay. And then I know Patrick sent us the code sections for the establishment whenever it was established way back when. And it goes on a yearly basis. So like we vote on tonight, is the year starting tonight and going from 6/22/20 to 6/21/21 or?
Sue, does that start?
Yes, we start immediately.
It starts immediately, Sue says.
So it would start today to go to next June 21st.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And
This is-
then
Mr. Roselle, did you have another question?
one last thing, and then you said because we have the 1-year term, 2-year term, all that stuff. Are you keeping all 117 for possibly filling these slots when the first termers go off and so on, or?
We would look at those. Filling out an application is not a guarantee of placement on any committee. Anybody can fill out the applications. It is not a guarantee, but we would certainly reference those again.
Okay. That's it.
Mrs. Snee, the floor is yours.
Thank you. That relates to my question also. I was wondering that because of these staggered terms, when it comes time to name the replacements for the 1-year terms? Are we going to open the process again for new applications, review the ones we have on file, a combination?
The process is open year round for every board, everything. And it's not a guarantee just having an application that you'll be placed on a board.
I understand that, but I think on this board, there was some specific interest because of the issues to be addressed. So I'm wondering if we are going to put out again at this time next year, or the time for reappointments, the ability for someone to apply with an interest for this board.
Hadn't even thought about that, but certainly would consider it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was all.
And these are all renewable too. So, you know, at the end of their term, they may choose not to ask to be renewed. But they are renewable too.
Mr. Phillips, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Did you, in your interview process, were there any expectations that you put forth with those folks of what you hoped had come out of this initial year, let's say?
Yeah, it wasn't like a true interview for them. It was a chance to let them ask questions about what we expected of this board and how it would work. Well, like I said, we expect it to be an educational process for them and for us. We want to know what they perceive is going on in the city, and then what can we do to help that. They may have initiatives that they'd like to see, and those would be discussed. I suggested that they may be interested in knowing how our police train, and then maybe they'll bring speakers, that maybe they'll bring one of the police officers in to explain some of the training that they go through, that sort of thing.
Well, you used the word perception or perceived, and I hope that it's more of a reality more than a perception with
Sure.
the education component. So thank you very much.
We want to know what people are experiencing here in Troy.
Yes, reality.
Reality.
Mrs. Snee has another question. Mrs. Snee, the floor is yours.
Just one final question. Are their meetings open to the public?
They will be public meetings, but the group will decide when they meet, what time they meet. That will be up to them. Their agenda, they will set their agenda. We will facilitate as they need us to. We will provide resources to them for whatever they need.
I think Grant is nodding his head in the affirmative that these are considered public meetings. You're
Yes.
muted.
Muted.
After having been repeatedly told. Yes.
Yeah. Yes, he says emphatically. Do any other council members have any comments or questions?
Is this committee?
Oh, we'll go with Mr. Schweizer and then Mr. Terwilliger. Mr. Schweizer, the floor is yours.
And I understand that there is no mission statement yet for this group.
They will decide their own mission statement.
So we don't know what the scope of this committee will be or what the expectations of it coming out are.
Oh, you have to read the ordinance. It's laid out in the ordinance.
Yeah, Mr. President,
Mr. Phillips?
to answer Mr. Schweizer's question, the ordinance that was sent out to us is very specific and limited in their scope and responsibilities at this point in time, unless there's something that I would perceive as legislatively done by us to change that condition.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, I looked at the ordinance, but still unsure. Did any high school kids volunteer to be on this?
No.
Okay. I have nothing else.
Mr. Schweizer, anything? That's it? Okay. Mr. Terwilliger, go ahead with your question.
I may have missed it in looking over the overview of the mission and such, But will this meeting be run by a committee of itself? Will they elect, or is it going to be supervised over city administration, by city administration?
It is not supervised by city administration.
Will they be in attendance?
Yes.
Yes,
They will be electing officers?
they will. But they will decide that.
All right,
Thank you, Mr. Terwilliger.
Can I speak here real quick?
Mr. Seaver, go ahead.
When I spoke to Robin just now before this meeting about being on this committee, or I guess it was a little bit before that, but to maybe, I guess, add a little to what I was just told, I think the mayor is looking at this as a long-term project. So I know everyone's looking at some immediacy, and I'm sure that there'll be some immediate issues, but I think that's the reason, that she wanted to resurrect this, and that this isn't going to be a 6 months from now, here's what we want to have council do. I think this is going to be a long-term, at least that's how, I don't want to speak for the mayor, but that's what she just
It's a marathon,
indicated.
not a sprint.
There you go.
So, I just lost my train of thought. Never mind, go ahead, Todd.
No, that's what, so I just think, because I, from hearing some of these questions, I just want to reiterate what I was just told, that I think the mayor wants to say is it's a long-term, this will be a continual board, not something that's going to meet its cause and then dissipate.
This group will not be able to ask the city to spend money or to create laws. They may discuss some things they'd like to see done, but that is probably the extent. They can suggest an initiative or suggest that we research something, but will not be able to make decisions as far as what the city will do. But they can suggest things that they'd like for us to look at.
Are there any other comments or questions from council members on the item in front of us? So we have a duly made motion by Mr. Twist and seconded Mr. Schilling to approve the appointments to the Human Relations Commission. Mrs. Knight, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Rozell,
Yes.
Mr. Swazer,
Yes.
Mr. Phillips,
Yes.
Mr. Twist,
Yes.
Mr. Schilling,
Yes.
Mr. Allen,
Yes.
Mr. Sievert,
Yes.
Mrs. Snead,
Yes.
Mr. Twilliger.
yes.
Motion is adopted.
All right, thank you, members, for being here this evening for the special meeting. We will adjourn the special meeting and hand it over to Mrs. Snead for the Community and Economic Development Committee as they consider a rezoning of a parcel. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
All right. Give me 1 minute. I'm moving to another screen on the iPad.
Madison Street.
Madison.
Okay, so are we ready to start?
Still bark for the electric chair.
It's all
Mr.
yours.
Titterington, are we ready?
We
Go
are
ahead.
ready. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening. It is Monday, June 22nd, 5:24 in the evening, and this is a meeting of the Community and Economic Development Committee. The members of that committee are myself, Mr. Rozell, and Mr. Twist. And we are meeting tonight to provide a recommendation to council regarding ordinance number 031-2020, which is rezoning parcels at the address of 6 North Madison from R6 to OC1. Mr. Titterington?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, this is on 6 North Madison Street, which is at the corner of Madison and West Main Street. It is currently zoned R6. The owner asked to have it rezoned to OC1. It did go before the Planning Commission and was unanimously recommended for a zoning change. There was also a public hearing at council at its last meeting, and there were no comments for or against that were filed with us. We are recommending that the rezoning be approved.
I just have a general question because this one is surprising that for so many years it existed in the R6 zoning but was used as a commercial property. So my question is, do we proactively, or does the planning department proactively look around the city at properties that might not have uses compatible with their current zoning, or do we just let these arise like this one as they come up?
We don't do a, I guess, I call it a heavy-handed approach where we're aggressively seeking to rezone properties that are legally non-conforming. We will work with the property owners when we have a request from a property owner. At that time, we will look at the neighboring properties to see if there may be other incompatible, or not incompatible, but legally non-conforming zoning designations. It just makes it easier for everybody. But we don't try to force rezoning on anyone if they're legally grandfathered.
Okay. That was my only question. Either of the other committee members have questions? Any other council?
Move
I'm
forward.
Oh, thank you. Any other council members have any questions? Okay, if not, Mr. Twist?
Move forward.
Moving forward. Then it's
Yeah.
unanimous from the committee to move forward. Is there any other items before this committee?
There are not.
Then we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Bye.
What is it?
Thanks.